pathways are helping to disrupt new education and recruitment norms in the workplace. And today we've got Daniel Scott, author of, what was the name of your book again? Let's have a look. The FE Pathways, FE Technology, Handbook for FE.
Learning Technology, Handbook for FE Teachers and Assessors.
Yes. I forgot to mention that in my notes. So yes. And Daniel today is going to take us through the Learning Technology Pathway, which is a lesser known qualification and field of expertise in general. So Daniel, thank you for joining us, and tell us a bit about your background and how you got into this.
Right, yeah, so casting way back when now. But I started out in this particular learning technologist role or specialism, because obviously there's different titles these days for that particular role. But I started out in at Barnsley College, I think it was February 2010, so a long time ago now. Yeah. And I was there about 7 years, further education. And I was employed as a learning support technologist. That was the title. I'll go into a little bit more about the actual role itself in a few moments, but do that particular role. But then I think it was around 2014 that role kind of changed a little bit. It's a bit of a dual role in the sense that I was still doing that role, but then I had do an additional learning design apprenticeship that was developed by a curriculum agency. I think it's Coralesk, what was it called back then. I don't know if it's still there now. So yeah, I'll just start about the particular role now. So yeah, I was employed to be a learning technologist. So to kind of like summarize that role very briefly, because it's quite a depending on where you work, but it can be quite complex sort of role.
All of FE is complex, really, isn't it? I guess that's whenever you're explaining it to anybody, it's sort of lots of different nuts and bolts.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when I first came across this particular role, I didn't quite actually understand myself, so I don't blame anyone if they don't understand it.
Yeah.
We get the obviously learning bit, but then the technologist bit, it's like, what does that mean? Is it a techie? Is it some sort of geek or something? Yeah. I get those types of people, but we're not just labelled as IT. But it's basically anyone who enables and supports learning, teaching, assessments through the use of appropriate digital technology. Right. Simply put, so it's around having conversations with any academics or teachers, assessors. It doesn't exclude working with learners. Again, it depends on your role, but it's to understand to discuss really about how digital technology can enhance or improve a particular course, could be a module. Just about digital learning.
Is it linked to the learner experience? Is that how you would describe it? I've heard that term used quite a lot.
You're right, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's about that learning experience. So it's being involved in those initial conversations. So some courses and modules might already be in existence. So it's looking at how, especially in the last 12 months, how digital technology can now improve that learning experience, as well as the teacher role. There's their role in it as well as obviously delivering, but then assessing as well.
Oh, brilliant.
So if I could wrap it around that, so it's just that conversation
in
really.
A complex nutshell. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
It could also be involved in the evaluation aspects as well. Where it's been identified some courses need to include more digital technology. In fact, I think in FE, I don't know if you still call it ILT, information learning technology.
Yeah, I've seen that jargon, that sort of abbreviation been thrown around. Yeah, I think it's now just sort of remote learning, isn't it? It's that broad umbrella term that all the universities seem to be using and colleges. So yeah.
Yeah, and I should actually add as well, it's not just that conversation as well, but it's also about producing any support and guidance for any digital technology that you're working with at that particular institution.
Yeah.
Any supporting workshops or sessions with educators, teachers and assessors. All that encompassing stuff.
Wow. So it really does touch every aspect really of the training, and I can imagine that you've had a surge in requests for advice and tips in the last year, as you say.
Yeah, there's been a few, well, as part of the increase in my own role, but then, externally as well. I think it's been a bit of a panic. Everyone's like moved online. It's okay. It's like, we move stuff online, but, that doesn't always quite translate well,
Yeah.
typical PowerPoint, sticking it online.
Yes, death by PowerPoint.
It's not going to work. We can't, what we did in person, it just needs a bit of reimagination, redesign. For online, can't simply just take and stick it somewhere.
Sure. And so you were at Apprenticeships before, and now you're in a new role, I believe.
So working with Apprenticeships, so if I just take it back to when we used to work at Barnsley College in our learning technologist role, my early involvement with Apprenticeships as a rewarding body was with digital learning design qualifications at both level 3 and level 4. Do both diplomas as well. So they obviously were the awarding organisation for those. So I had that experience working with them back then. But it was November 2019. I was employed as an external quality assurer with them.
Okay.
So that obviously involved again working with digital learning design qualifications when they were available. Then they've since been withdrawn. But as part of that role as well, I was contracted to redevelop something to put in their place. But something that I lobbied to them anyway, they were looking to withdraw those qualifications as popular and demanding as they were, especially with pandemic. I lobbied the idea saying that I think there's going to be an increasing demand, not just for educators, but for any school leavers that have been really inspired, through this experience. Long story short, I contracted to develop some qualification in its place that kind of took the best of both level 3 and level 4 of digital learning design, but with some improvements that I'd like to make personally, since I've delivered it before. Tested it and quality managed it. So that's now a level 3 certificate. I think it's a diploma. I think it was award, a certificate and diploma in technology and learning. So that includes like I said, the best of digital learning design, but they focused more on probably more of content creation, more of an instructional designer sort of role. Where this one does include elements of that, but it's also about that classroom support as well.
Really important.
So working with educators in the classroom, outside the classroom, online. In that full learning technologist type role.
So you basically help to turn that around and kind of revive those qualifications and get them.
I like to see it as a refresh.
A
bit of a redesign itself of the qualifications. It is needed, and again, educators can do that qualification themselves as well as younger adults. But with that qualification as well, this were personal recommendation for myself, what I was doing, but to include I think originally were 3 units, but we had to put 2 units in end from the level 3 award in education and training. And those were, I think, I can't remember unit titles now, but the role of obviously an educator or a teacher, teacher role. Because when I had my own apprentices studying digital learning design, that was one of the roles they needed to understand. And as much as we did educate them and just some activities around that, I just think it was essential that we understand that with education and training, it's actually not just a teacher role, it's trainers as well. But we fully understood that role. The other unit was around, I think, inclusive teaching or training environment. So we've included that, and unfortunately it wasn't included, but the principles of assessment or something on the lines of that.
That's quite an umbrella one, isn't it? I know that I've done that one myself. It's it applies to them all really. It's a good one to have in your arsenal.
I found with my apprentices back then, or just probably younger adults in general, it's like they might get be interested in the creative part, but when it comes to the actual teacher and trainer role, they might not understand that quite fully and what that entails. And actually, before you get into digital, I think it's really important for if you understand how to create a session, whether that's like teaching or training, you know, and all the skills and things you need to produce,
Definitely.
beginning, middle, and end of a session.
Definitely. And so when people sort of are selecting a pathway to do, I mean, is it something that learners think of themselves as like, you know, oh, I want to become a learning technologist? How is that kind of marketed to them, and how do you get young people interested in it in particular? Because I suppose educators have sort of got that awareness that it exists, and some, you know, it's a toolkit they might need to acquire and learn, a skill set rather. So is there a challenge in getting young people interested in it, or?
Yeah, and I can talk from my experience on this. So this was way back when on the apprenticeship itself. So it was quite odd because with our scheme that we had at the college at the time, we were acting both provider and what's the word I'm looking for, both provider and employer.
Yeah.
In that situation, so we kind of knew what we were looking for, because there were little learning company that we had that we employed the apprentices underneath, but essentially they were still employed by, you know, the college. So we because we knew the role, it was predominantly you could call instructional designer in producing e-learning materials and other guidance and documentation as such, and things to improve the virtual learning environment. It met that initial need, really. In a nutshell. So when we advertise the roles, obviously we're external, the usual social media marketing, and the apprenticeship team also did their bit. You know, we had actual role profile and job descriptions for it, but internal within the college, especially with some students finishing their multimedia qualifications, such as I'm trying to think of some of the names now, but you know, the ones where it's around animation, graphic design.
So like the digital media, so the junior content producer, for example, that's one that I deal with quite a lot. So that's got that, like that, I suppose e-learning would kind of overlap, you know, the skills that you need. You could quite easily see them transitioning from that one into maybe learning technology or something.
And that's what we try to do, is not only just trying to appeal to, you know, some students, but saying that, look, you've got these skills, so you just develop these skills. You know, there's other ways that you can apply those skills rather than the typical career routes of going down, I don't know, TV and film or something, I don't know.
And that's what they tend to think of. I think there's two different tracks with it. You can go down the broadcasting route, or, you know, down the online media route. So it's a really good hook into it probably for you guys.
Yeah, so there was that, and then there was computing as well, because, you know, they were quite attractive. Obviously, we have the technical, you know, like expertise and the mindset, even for not just operating the software, but just how we can, I don't know, like reimagine, you know, VLE sense and navigate themselves around that. So we did. We employed a number of students from those like backgrounds as well. I'm trying to think if any more really, but like graphic design, multimedia, and computing.
Makes sense.
Oh,
fantastic. Okay, and do you so these are learners that already done tertiary education or a degree or something. So in terms of kind of the younger ones coming out of college, is that a different approach? Do they have a different awareness of, you know, their options, and does learning technology appeal to them?
I'd imagine it would be different. I mean, these students we had, they've just finished or did finish a level 3 qualification back then. Some of them could have been a level 2, but I think we were looking at level 3, so they're a little bit more well-rounded, not just in their knowledge, but their, you know, interpersonal skills as well. I imagine learners at a lower level, probably less aware of this again type of role. So it's the same situation. It's kind of promoting that role, saying, you know, something like this does exist. I'm just thinking, now just popped into me just when I first came across this role, when I went on to applying for it. You know, I'm interested in working with digital technology. And even back then, 2009, I didn't even know what a VLE was. You know, I had to do all this research before the interview. So it's stuff like that. But now a lot of students and learners in general have experienced virtual learning environment, especially in the last 12 months in some shape or form. we're going to go with that now. But yeah.
Well, yeah, but it's just interesting, isn't it? How this e-learning is a massive industry, but not a lot of people have an idea of how complex and interesting, and how many different aspects there are of it that you can go into and have really fulfilling careers. So
yeah, that's where I was going to say. Yeah, so I did the interest of the technology side of it, working with educators in general, and just that college environment. I wanted to be back working there. But at the same time, that passion for learning and just education itself, it just ticked all my boxes. And I didn't think back then, I realised, how much of an impact, I don't know, it would have on my career, or how big it could actually get in that sense, in that progression from it. I would say it did change my life in terms of career, because I think back then I wasn't quite sure on what direction I was going in. But I think I just really found something that I could really combine all my passions really into one role. Yeah.
And in terms of choosing a traditional degree route, say choosing e-learning as a bachelor's degree versus an apprenticeship, would you say there are benefits to one or the other, in your opinion, in your experience?
Yeah, definitely. But well, there's growing opportunities now, to do both through degree apprenticeships, so you can get that workplace on the job experience, and obviously come out with a degree as well. So there's more and more opportunities coming out like that. But if there's no opportunities there right now, it's obviously there's pros and cons to them both. But I actually did an apprenticeship myself, not in obviously learning technology. This was way back when, but I did a business administration apprenticeship.
Okay.
So I'm a big not just a fan, but a big believer in apprenticeships that do give those on the job experiences, and acquiring all the skills and the knowledge, and just, competencies in general. So I would definitely encourage that particular route if anyone did see an apprenticeship in general, to get that experience, because that's what majority of employers do look for. It's not always just about what but how you can actually do the job, and any transferable skills that you can take within there. But at the same time, for degrees, I weren't educationally, how can I best word this, but I weren't that educated way back when to do to go to university, or in general. So I kind of did it a different way around. So I did the apprenticeship, got straight into a job, into the work experience, came across this learning technologist role, and I think it was about 4 years in that role. Did other qualifications in between, which is probably worth mentioning at some point if I remember to bring it up. But eventually did a master's in technology and learning.
Oh, wow.
At Huddersfield University.
Brilliant.
But what really helped me though was getting that work experience first. This is my situation, how it helped really benefited me personally. So I had all that work experience stuff, and that pragmatic experience. But I am more pragmatic anyway as a person. But doing a degree later on after that experience, it just helped sharpen my skills and understanding in general.
More valuable,
because I had work experience, but then I was able to you understand all the theories and the research behind it all, and I could apply that a bit more easily because I've been there, done it, and I could
That's really interesting. You say that. I've heard a few people say when they've done degrees later on, because I did it all in the traditional sort of chronological order, and then went into sort of being self-employed and marketing and other things. But it was all kind of after following the traditional plan. And I wonder how far I would be along if I'd done it the other way around. But it's interesting that you found the business apprenticeship early on. So how did you come across that then before these times when it's been more promoted? That's interesting.
Now you're asking something.
It's a question.
Actually the year was 2005. So you could say that I was a late apprentice. I think I was 19 at the time, so I literally just got in on the funding, back then anyway, before I was off. It's probably changed now. Because I'm trying to think. I had a part-time job yeah, this is probably going down like the history now, but yeah, the part-time job at Morrison's, the local Morrison's, obviously. And I did an animal care course just before then as well. And I'm pretty sure that I want to do like the level 2 of that particular like animal care course. And for whatever reason, we didn't quite start that level 2 course. So I went full-time at Morrison's in the meanwhile until I just figured out what I actually wanted to do. And my partner at the time, they worked for the council and doing business administration, doing some other stuff as well. And I found that really inspiring. And I thought, yeah, I'd like to do that.
Okay.
And I just put myself forward for an apprenticeship. So I just think how I came about it. I think it would probably when I say usual route of just seeing the vacancies that the college had to offer.
Yeah.
That was it. Yeah. So the college actually themselves did advertise a business admin apprentice actually working at the college. I did, I was employed a few years later on, which worked to my advantage.
Yeah.
As a student, as apprentice, and then obviously being an employee.
Brilliant. That's good. That's interesting how you kind of have that word of mouth recommendation, which I think at the moment is really how it works with apprenticeships, isn't it? Because there's this kind of still this stigma, not more in the UK, I'd say, with choosing traditional higher education over going to go through with the apprenticeship. But I hope that degreeships will change that, because I certainly would have probably chosen that if we could go back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's still do the job of apprenticeships, but I just think it just sets you off onto steady in future. So I'm not knocking degrees at all. But
no, not at all. But I think for specific pathways, it is often better, isn't it, to get that vocational experience.
It depends on your priorities, doesn't it? Really, it's like if you want to get straight into work and start earning some money, straight into a career, or developing a career, or do you want to study a little bit more and then go into a career? About
understanding that purpose behind it, absolutely. What tips do you think you would offer somebody trying to break into a learning technologist type of role from another field, say if they've already got experience?
Yeah. Okay. I think the first port of call really is to do some searching on the actual role itself. Understand what the role is, but I'm meaning more current vacancies and stuff, because they'll have a job description attached, and you can just study that a little bit, what's required and what you need to have, both knowledge and skills wise, any other qualifications that you might need. And I would definitely recommend, it's not always essential. Again, this is why it's important to look at job description. It's not always essential, but some employers do look for or put it down as an essential, or at least a desirable, to have a level 3 qualification in education and training. That's one of the qualifications that I was going to mention. I think it was in the second year when I was employed in my first learning technologist role.
It's a good foundational one, isn't it? Again, to build on, I guess.
I did the old petals, which is level 3 education training, but then I did the subsequent level 4 and level 5 of that back then. So I would encourage if you can, especially the level 3 one. It's only a short course, so it tend to be 10 weeks or less. You can do them online now as well. That includes a micro teach at the end. So again, that's good skills and experience to have for a role.
Definitely. Would you say there? Sorry.
I was going to say, other things that stand out is obviously digital skills. That's crucial for this type of role. So again, employers will be looking for what's the word? Not just being digital capable, but highly proficient in Microsoft, Google, and such like that. And just generally being curious about it as well, because the learning technologist role is about enabling creativity and innovation as well. Ability to work with people, but other tips. I mentioned about looking at other learning technology type qualifications or apprenticeships. The more interpersonal things I just mentioned about being curious, but proactive as well.
I was going to ask about the traits of a person, because it's difficult to kind of when you don't understand the industry very well, it's difficult to know what kinds of people would be, good for it. But you've already said digital media people, computer science people, maybe. So you think of those introverted traits, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say about being reflective as well. And in my case, that's worked really well because I'm very reflective as a person on things that I learn, on the job and outside of the job. So being reflective where you can it'll really help in the long run. But also, in this world now, everything, well, not everything, but majority is online. So look for any particular webinars around, learning technology or online learning, any local groups or meets, like teacher meets, I might call them.
Yeah.
And you could ask, family and friends as well if they're in any job roles, whether working in educational establishments or even private sector, like character, for example.
Do you have any recommended resources that you put out? I think you have a blog, is that right? You do a lot of blogging in this area?
I do, yes. Yeah. In fact, on my blog, I've talked about my whole journey in this role. And again, that's why it was so inspirational to me, initially getting to that role, because allow me to or just provided me with, well, initially back to a blog, came across those through that role itself, because I have a good educational tool. But then me being a reflective person, I needed somewhere to think and store things. I'm not saying you have to do it publicly like I do, but I'm an open reflector. So that became quite something, really. And
I think that's where I came across you initially. I think I was looking up sort of learning, apprenticeships and sort of qualifications in this area, because it's something that I was kind of really into recently, just in terms of learner experience, and because I do a lot of content development. So I think that's how I came across you initially.
Yeah, some other things I'd recommend, like FutureLearn and LinkedIn Learning.
Brilliant site.
Actually, well, start with FutureLearn. That is free. There's free courses on there that you can access. And there's some really, really good ones, like which I think of the title now, like blended and online learning. That'd be a good one to for people to get their teeth into, just to understand the conceptual elements, not just the practical technology bits. What underpins all of that. With LinkedIn Learning, usually educational establishments will subscribe to that. So if anyone is working in a place where they do subscribe to it, then it's worth looking on there, because a lot of free, well, I say free courses, but if you're working in that particular place, you can
is it a premium tool? So it's premium after a certain time? I can't, for LinkedIn Learning.
It may well be. I've not been on it for some time, but it could be. I know the university where I work now, they do subscribe to it, and students can access that freely. But some courses do actually embed some materials from there within it, especially some of the learning pathways on there. And just a couple of shout out really to some groups as well. One of which just joined Claire as well, the early career learning technologist group on LinkedIn. Specifically for this purpose, in this nature. So for anyone that's starting out, as well, they might all categorize as low as probably level 1, level 2, that's heard about this role, might be interested in it. Again, conversational group where they can learn more about the role, and every month we'll have like a theme, and then some like questions around that particular theme just to get involved in.
Brilliant.
Certainly watch from a distance, so to speak. So that's on LinkedIn, and again, that's called Early Career Learning Technologist Group.
We'll put a link to that. We'll put a link to that at the end. Don't worry, Daniel, so that you can anybody can see where to go and join the conversation. I've
just got a really strong passion for again, just that same feeling that I had when I first went into that role. I just want to kind of like grow the next generation of people like me and others, who's going to replace us, really.
Absolutely.
But also DigiLearn sector community as well. You might have heard of that.
I haven't heard of that one. I'll have a look. No,
and that's free to join, and that's predominantly led by facilitated by Chris Melia, UCLan, so that's University of Lancashire.
Oh yeah.
So it's it's hosted by university, but it's cross-sector and it's really accessible in its approach again, just like the early career one. So you've got people from FE, HE, schools, sectors. And that's just a community where you can go in there, ask questions and get involved in all sorts of things. But they do regular webinars where people share, practices and new things that come across. So again, that's something that will be beneficial to people just to get a bit more familiar with what's happening in the world of digital and online learning and teaching and assessment.
Yeah, so an ever expanding world. So yeah, exciting things ahead. So are you working on? You haven't started your role yet at is it Nottingham Trent? Wait.
Yeah, so I'm currently there now as a digital practice advisor. So it's probably the misnomer. It's more of a consultancy sort of role.
Yeah.
But yeah, as of next month, specifically on 23rd of August, I will be starting a new role as a digital curriculum support and developer. Quite a long title, but it really is a learn technologist role. So I'm really excited to get back to my roots on that as well. So I'll be actually based in an academy where in this current role I'm based in human resources in organizational development. Still work with academics. But yeah, this new role is going to be situated in a school, the School of Social Sciences, in the newly developed Institute of Health and Allied Professions. And again, it's a brand new role, so I'm just really looking forward to just getting
make it your own. Oh, very exciting.
And that's working with nursing courses and paramedicine. Which involves the degree apprenticeship side.
And I actually I was talking to a training provider in recent months who deliver a lot of healthcare courses as their sort of specialist niche, and they were saying that one of the issues in that sort of apprenticeship industry is the types of content, which is blended learning, and the formats that we deliver blended learning in, say, white collar roles are not necessarily are suitable for jobs which involve a lot of practical elements like nursing or medicine. So it'd be interesting to see, kind of what you come up with. Maybe we could do an interview later on when you've picked up more knowledge about that kind of approach to learning in that sector.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, in fact, that's what I'm doing right now. Just picking some little bits up as part of my current role. I can do that and just get a bit more familiar with how these degree apprenticeships are structured. We predominantly use PebblePad. You might have heard it as so that's really ideal for degree apprenticeships. And I implemented or helped implement that at the university anyway a few years back. In fact, it was the first thing in that role when I first started at the university. That's what I got involved in. So bringing that in as the main system to support degree apprenticeships, as well as a small FE provision that they've got there as well. So I'm a big fan of PebblePad.
PebblePad, okay. So I have heard of it, haven't used it, but good to know. I was actually talking to Henley Business School recently about sort of their level 7s and sort of just the kinds of questions you get to do with tools and things. It's all linking into what you're saying. So very interesting. I'm excited to see how they develop. So any other projects that you want to mention to kind of plug, or any places they can go to reach out to you? If people want to ask you further questions, how can they connect with you beyond here?
There's my blog site. So it's simply just called Daniel Scott. But if you just type in on Google, I'm sure it'll return on Daniel Scott Learning Technology. I'm sure it'll be on there somewhere. Because it is a Google blogger. I think they tend to favour their products before anything else.
That's true, yeah. Top of the search.
So a general aim is I'll put something on there or put out once a month. It's not always work related, it could be something else.
Okay.
Open reflector. But there's lots of stuff on there. So feel free to delve into all that. On Twitter, Twitter handle is @_Daniel_Scott. And on LinkedIn, just Daniel Scott. All those links are actually on my blog at the top. So it's all connected.
Brilliant. Okay. And we'll put link to your book as well. Learning Technology, a handbook for FE providers. A few teaching assessors, yeah.
Yeah, it's quite a long title, isn't it, to remember. Learning Technology Handbook for Teachers and Assessors. See, I forgot myself then. I am updating that book actually at the moment. It may be released next year, but I'm just updating that on not just its content, but to encompass HE practitioners as well. Still in its practical and simplified nature. So that's something to watch out in the future.
Definitely, there's definitely room for that information. I think I haven't seen anybody else really covering that, so yeah, pretty much sought after.
Thank you. So yeah, it's just all going to be through my experience as a learning technologist, just in that practical nature. There's plenty of other materials out there on the theoretical underpinnings and such and research.
Yeah. Again, it's sort of that diluting it into a digestible, plain English format, isn't it, for non-specialists? I think that's really what we need more of. So
yeah, and I think part of the passion behind that first book, though, came from my first experience really in that role. It's like I said before, I didn't even know what a learning technologist was and the whole world of educational technology. So some academics and educators knew what that were, but yeah, in FE back then anyway, there was just lesser understanding of that. So I want to put something out there that helps not just people in my role, but obviously specifically in this case teachers and assessors understand it a little bit better.
Excellent. Okay, I look forward to diving into my copy. Fantastic. Well, anything else you want to mention? But I think we've probably covered all of our initial questions, haven't we, that we agreed on?
I think that's it. If there's anything, this is for the listeners, if there's anything that I mentioned that was of interest or you want to hear more of, feel free to reach out. I'm always open to discussing things.
Fantastic, thank you. And we'll drive everybody to the group, don't worry, so we can kind of get some more conversation going in there. And thank you very much.
Thank you.